Unbelievable, Jeff. Accrington Stanley 2. Chesterfield 1. Hull City 5. Cheltenham Town 0. Hi, I'm Kammy, Kamara, and I'm here to read you a bedtime story that's been written for me by someone on the internet about my favourite person, me. And if you're wondering why I'm whispering, it's because the producers told me that's the way I've got to do it. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and listen. It was one of those bitingly cold Sunday afternoons, and of course, he'd forgotten his hat. But luckily, Kamara's thick, glossy, impossibly curly locks were keeping him toasty as he watched the derby unfold from his position, perched at the top of the stands, like a great football commentating eagle, with nothing much happening on the pitch. Kamara found himself glancing down at his phone, his eyes flickering gently in the cool, whispering breeze. He opened Instagram and went straight to his own profile page. He scrolled idly through his old photos until he stopped on a picture of his younger self. A throwback to his playing days. His attention was magnificently drawn to those ringlets, which longer in those days cascaded down his neck like a hairy waterfall. He placed his thumb and forefinger on the screen and slowly parted them, zooming in to capture his glorious detail. For Chris, his hair was perfect. It was smooth, compact, and overflowing with energy like a crisp, curly fry. Caught up in admiration, Chris placed one hand on his head and began to run it through his curls, letting the silky strands envelope his fingers. As he continued to run his hand through his hair, he closed his eyes and let himself be overtaken by the heavenly feeling of hair on skin. A smile crept across his face as he could hear a smooth voice in his head uttering those 4 special words. "What's the latest, Kammy?" Chris let the words wash over him like a warm tide as he felt himself becoming weightless, floating slowly up into the sky. "Kammy, are you okay? Something wrong with your head?" Snapping abruptly out of his temporary trance, Chris hurriedly removed his hand from his hair and opened his eyes to see the red light glowing on the top of the camera in front of him. He was on air. The voice coming across his earpiece was Jeff, his co-presenter, back in the studio. Chris's mouth dried like a dehydrated raisin. If he was honest, he had no idea what was going on. But he was a professional, and he knew the show must go on. He took another deep breath, pursed his full, voluptuous lips together, releasing them with a booming pop. "Yes, Jeff, I'm still here." He hesitated, racking his brain for something for their lives. Like beavers, eh? Those ferocious little devils, Jeff sniggered back sarcastically. As Jeff's voice faded in his ear, a huge surge of relief coursed through every crevice of Chris's manly, sculpted body by some incredible stroke of luck. He'd gotten away with it again, but one close call was quite enough for Kammy, and he resolved to pay close attention to the rest of the game. At that very moment, as the away team's star striker was steadied himself to shoot, a defender shoved him, sending him tumbling to the floor. Players ran in from all angles to argue with the referee, and a wall of deafening cheers could be heard from around the stadium. He tapped his mic and waited for the studio to come back to him. This is absolute tumble-dryer football. It's all happening down here, Jeff, he shouted through his mic. Never mind that. I want to talk to you about something that's been sent in by @Lalanas in Pajamas on Twitter, came Jeff's reply. Confused, Chris peered at the tiny 6-inch monitor in front of him. On it, he could see a photo, presumably taken by a nearby fan, in which Chris could clearly be seen looking at his phone. On the phone screen, filling it like a glowing beacon of embarrassment, was the photo of the princely young Chris Kamara that had so consumed him less than an hour ago. The caption above read, "Find someone who looks at you the same way Chris Kamara looks at Chris Kamara." And it had already been retweeted 1,000 times. Chris's heart sank as he realized what had happened. He wanted more than anything to unravel his beloved curled locks and pull them over his glistening eyes to hide his shame. Instead, he uttered the only words he could think of to describe how he felt at that moment in time. Unbelievable, Jeff. Good night, everybody.